All right, a former BYU football player and Hall of Famer believes that he has the answer to healing the devastating effects of traumatic brain injury with a new kind of headgear.
News specialist Dan Mascone has the exclusive look at the device players wear before they ever step on the field and the groundbreaking results they're having.
Energy, enthusiasm, turn up!
The power, the energy,
Let's go!
and the teamwork of BYU football, program dedicated to doing all it can to take their athletes to a whole new level of performance.
The margin for error is very, very slim.
Kobe Clausen is a director of sports medicine and training at BYU. He says performance is not just about physical strength.
I tell our players, everything starts in the brain. Movement starts in the brain, strength starts in the brain, speed starts in the brain.
Appreciate it.
And the secret to brain health may be inside these little boxes.
This is specifically made for your brain.
They may look odd,
On the back like that.
but this device,
It's using red light.
with its tiny flashing red lights, is changing players' game.
The one in the nostril is supposed to get the bottom of your brain. A lot of people think, oh, it's the concussions that get you, right? And we're actually finding in the research it's not that. It's the micro traumas that these players get.
In 2021, BYU was part of a light therapy study involving these very V-Light devices. 32 healthy members of the football team participated, wearing them for 20 minutes, 3 days a week. 16 of them had working devices, the other 16 did not. The study was measuring several areas like cognitive performance and brain health, including inflammation and tissue damage. Clausen says preliminary results at the end of the study were significant.
The players that used it consistently, their grip strength actually started to improve through the season, whereas the players that were in the sham group, their grip strength decreased through the season.
The official results of that study are still waiting for publication, but BYU trainers say the devices are still showing the same results. Running back Lucky Finau saw a change.
Oh yeah, I'm a believer, 100%. We all were getting stronger throughout the season. We all would feel like we could keep our speed.
I was a little skeptical.
BYU offensive lineman Waylon Lapoaho was a little unsure at first, but now
My mental part of the game definitely went light years ahead.
The axons were damaged in the sham group, no response in the treated groups.
the idea to use a V-Light headgear came from Dr. Larry Carr, an adjunct professor in neurology in the School of Medicine at the University of Utah, which is studying the devices.
It appears that
Dr. Carr points to this series of scans, which shows less inflammation for those wearing the working helmets as the season progressed, and those not receiving the treatment, shown in yellow, seem to worsen. Larry's a former BYU Hall of Famer whose life became unbearable because of traumatic brain
I
injury.
went down a dark hole, and I'm fortunate enough that my wife stayed with me and that I'm alive. It got so bad.
In 2013, Larry was diagnosed with significant brain damage from football and probable CTE. He eventually ended up at the VA hospital in Boston, where he became part of a light therapy study on Gulf War veterans. He was the first football player to be studied. After weeks of V-Light treatments, Larry and Lori noticed a huge difference.
I noticed pretty quickly that he was calming down. He was more peaceful. He was more relaxed.
It had a tremendous change in emotion, cognitive abilities. I find more peace. I find more purpose. When I left Boston, I turned to my wife and I say, I'm going to save football.
So Larry came to BYU, where he met with his friend.
And I love being here.
Tom Homo is a former pro football player himself and BYU's athletic director for 20 years.
When I heard something could possibly help with concussions and football, I said, I'm in. I've seen so many injuries in my time.
The theory behind it is you get ATP, which is the energy that basically most of your body runs on.
Brett Mortensen is a director of BYU football athletic training.
There's a lot of studies that seem to indicate that there's some decrease in the neuroinflammatory response in the brain as the football season goes on.
But more importantly, what can these devices do for players long term?
And that's super important. I want to be able to raise a family, have a wife and kids.
I want to see them high functioning years and years down the road.
Something Larry and Lori believe can happen.
I believe in it with all my heart and soul. It's changed our life.
Before the BYU study, researchers did a study with Las Vegas firefighters. They say they found a 35% decrease in depression and 40% decrease in PTSD. Larry and the team of researchers are also looking at studying other groups, including Utah NFL alumni. For more on this study and this story, go to our website, KSLTV.com. Back to you guys.
That's incredible. The numbers, the
What
stats are showing.
impressive results.
Oh,
Yeah.
my. Okay, great story, Dan. Thank you.